Hey, and Pierce, this is Dr. Jones checking in. Good to virtually see you here. Let's dig in. We are on ANP1, lecture test 2, video, I just wrote it down, 7. And we're on page 11, or if yours printed out differently than mine, it should look like this. 4-8 tissue membranes are 4 types of physical barriers. So the physical barriers, as we've mentioned, are an epithelium, a basement membrane or a basal lamina, and a connective tissue. So when we're talking about membranes, we're talking about this group of 2 layers with a basement membrane between them. So they are physical barrier, they line or cover portions of the body, they consist of an epithelium supported by connective tissue, separated by a basement membrane. So it's the top and the bottom and then the middle, which is an odd order, but that's what we got. Okay, so let's talk about the different membranes. Okay, we don't need that. First, you have the mucous membranes. The mucous membranes line passageways and chambers that open to the exterior. And again, when I say passageways, that means tubes, and chambers are spaces. So anything that opens to the exterior. So let's list them. The digestive tract, respiratory tract, urinary tract, reproductive tract. And anytime I say tract, we're talking about tubes. So these are, you do have absorption and secretion at the mucous membranes, but basically you have mucus that covers them. And we talked about protect your mucous membranes, because even the ones that are stratified squamous epithelium, like the cheeks inside your, that is a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So if you touch something with cold or flu germs on it and then touch your mucous membranes, other places you also should not touch while you're in public. Wash your hands before you touch your face, and then again after you touch your face. Mucous membranes protect. I was in the middle of a sentence and I distracted myself and I have no concept of what I was saying. This might be the last video for today. Okay. Is it not gonna, there's the arrow. So there's things that I've already told you. All right, next are the serous membranes. I bet there's words for this too. Oh, look. It lines the ventral body cavity. The ventral body cavity, in one word, is a coelom. And C-O-E-L is always going to be a space. So that's a nice word root to have in your memory banks. And the serous membranes are the pleura, the pericardium, and the peritoneum. So these are internal cavities that do not open to the exterior. So that's how they're different from mucous membranes. Plus they're all, I mean, it's called mesothelium, but they're all a simple squamous epithelium. And they, as we mentioned, reduce friction when the organs change size and shape. I started a timer this time. And next we have the cutaneous membrane, which is simply your skin. So the cutaneous membrane is a keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and then we've got the areolar CT and then dense irregular CT. So that's your cutaneous membrane. The skin is the largest organ, but that's chapter 5. Still on test 2 though. Skin, epidermis and dermis. The epidermis is the epithelium and the dermis is a connective tissue. And then we have the synovial membranes. We have lots of synovial joints. They each have a synovial membrane. And this is the synovial membrane, is the fibrous capsule around a joint. It is filled with synovial fluid. And the movement is important to maintain joint health. Yeah. So here we have a fibrous outer layer and a cellular inner layer. that sounds familiar. And you see the articular cartilages, the hyaline cartilage lining the ends of the bones. And we're not talking about, okay. The synovial membrane makes the synovial fluid. Oh, I shouldn't have done it the third time. Now I'm going to fall asleep. Okay, moving on. Next page. Okay, let's talk about muscles. Muscles are not that. Oh, and here's your overview. Mucous membranes, serous membranes, cutaneous membrane, and synovial membranes. Okay, no, we already had that conversation. They switched that up. All right, muscles. So we had epithelia, and then connective tissues, and now muscles, and then we'll do neuro. So there are 3 types of muscles. Muscles tissue is specialized to contract, so that means to get shorter. 3 types of muscle. We'll go down. We'll do skeletal first. Let me click. Something should show up. Skeletal muscle tissue. So the location of skeletal muscle tissue is attached to the skeleton, mostly. There's a few that aren't. And the function is to move the skeleton around, guards entrances and exits, generates heat, and protects you. So we'll get into that more. The shape are long cylinders. Think like pool noodles. Maybe like 10 pool noodles glued end to end, long ways. That kind of shape. Long, skinny cylinders. And the nucleus, they are multi-nucleate. They have nuclei. There's not one nucleus per cell. There are multiple nuclei in each cell. And so the term there is multinucleate, or you can use the 2 words and say they're multiple peripheral nuclei, because unlike many of the other cells we've seen, they don't have the nucleus in the center of the cell. It's out on the edge of the cell, the periphery. So they're peripheral nuclei, multiple peripheral nuclei. Are they striated? And the striations are the stripes. See the stripes? Striated. So skeletal muscle is striated. Is it voluntary? Yes, you decide when to scratch your nose. Some of the skeletal muscles can be moved involuntarily, like hiccups, even breathing, but generally. So the drawing here is a long, skinny pool noodle with striations and multiple peripheral nuclei, and they're just under the edge of the cell membrane, as you can see here. So here's the cell membrane, and the nucleus is just inside the cell membrane. Peripheral, towards the edge. All right, and then next is cardiac. Here's our picture of, I drew on it. There is an eraser. Okay. Now I need to turn the pen back on because the eraser won't write. Let's do blue now. We'll change colors. Why not? Location of the cardiac muscle tissue. Cardio means heart. So your cardiac muscle tissue is your heart. The function is to pump blood and maintain blood pressure. The shape of the cells are short and branched. So like here's one. And they have a single central nucleus. They are uninucleate. Although the new book says no more than 5, sure, a single nucleus up to 5. So not sure where that came from, but okay. Are they striated? Yes. And you can, up here, I think you can see it best on this picture. So they are striated, and for the same reasons, and when we learn all about muscles, you will know. Not today, though. And are they voluntary? Do you have to remember to make your heart beat? If you fall asleep, does your heart quit beating? Thank goodness no, right? So it is involuntary. Now you can make changes to your heartbeat. You can tell yourself an exciting story like, oh my goodness, there's a test coming up, and if I don't get an A, I'm gonna die. Don't do that. And so your self-talk influences your body. So you can take a deep breath, think happy thoughts, or at least calm thoughts, or at least understand that, okay, so far no one has died during any of my tests, and I've been teaching this class for 10 years now. So if it were statistical probability, it probably would have happened by now. I maintain. Go on with it. Okay, so let's draw a cardiac cell. There you go. Like that. Ish. Sort of. Why not? Okay. Involuntary. Thank goodness. And now smooth muscle while I erase everything I just did, including the nucleus. And then turn the pen on, and we're going magenta. We're going magenta. Look at that. That's unusual. Okay. So the location of the smooth muscle, and we will cover this in great detail later, but it is in the walls of all of the tubes. I would say it lines the tubes, but technically there's an epithelium that is the lining. So it is in the wall. There's a layer of smooth muscle, a layer or 4 or 5, depending on the tube. There are layers of smooth muscles in the walls of most all of the tubes. Most, not all. So what do we mean by tubes? The digestive tubes, the blood vessels, respiratory tract, urinary tract, reproductive tracts. And what these muscles function to do is change the diameters of the tubes. So you need your food to be propelled through your digestive tract. You change the diameters of those tubes. You need to pump more blood more places than you increase the diameter of your blood vessels. Or when you take your rescue inhaler, that increases the diameter of your respiratory tracts by relaxing these smooth muscles. So here you see all of these smooth muscles. Shape. They are short, spindle-shaped, like a toothpick, but like a round toothpick, not a square toothpick. No flags. Boom. I drew one. Look, it looks nice. Hey, I am not an artist, but if I can draw it, all y'all can draw it. True story. Okay, and they are uninucleate with a single central nucleus, not like cardiac, where they're like, oh yeah, single nucleus, no more than 5. Here we are talking about a actual single nucleus. There's literally not anywhere else in the cell to put one, although they are longer to the proportion of the, they'd be like this, but like 5 times as long, and I can't draw that, so we're going on. This is representative. Are they striated? No. They have the same things that cause the stripes, but in like a net, and it's different. No striations. But it is involuntary. Is it voluntary? No, it is involuntary. You don't decide to blush. Oh, what's blushing? It's when these smooth muscles in the small blood vessels of your face relax. And that allows the diameter of those blood vessels to get bigger. It's called vasodilation, because the vas means vessel. So when the vessels dilate, vasodilation, you get more blood at the surface of your skin, and that's what makes you blush. So that's why. Vasodilation. Okay, so that is everything that we are talking about muscles for this tissue chapter. We will come back to this for test 4. nerves. So the neurons are nerve cells. The nerve tissue is the neurons and the neuroglia. Okay, usually, I mean, clearly it's the word neuro and then glia, but usually, but not always, in science, the third from last syllable is emphasized. So neuroglia, because glee is a syllable and is a syllable. So neuroglia. Usually, but not always. And the neurons are the nerve cells. The neuroglia are the supporting cells. They are helper cells. They feed them. They feed the neurons. They support the neurons, the whole shebang. It's like if you have a toddler, like that. The soma is the cell body. Previous editions all called them somas. Now it's straight to cell body. And I still say soma before I say cell body. So know that that's what that means. And the dendrites receive information from other neurons. The axon sends information to other neurons. And the nerve fiber is just another word for axon, because they're long and skinny like threads, fibers. And nerve tissue is specialized to propagate electrical impulses, which means propagate is move, electrical impulses do turn out to just be information. So the idea here is that they send information. And let's draw a neuron. Whiteboard. That's subtitles. Really? Screen. White screen. Okay, hello. All right, so the neuron, I can't draw dendrites, so I draw Lisa Simpson hair. And then there, we'll put a little branching tree-y structure. Hey, I can't draw, but I can draw something representative that gets the idea across. You can draw it. True story. Okay, so here are the dendrites. Let's change colors now. Oh, you know what? Let's finish this. I'm not sure how much of that we need this time, and we do need... What am I drawing? You know what that is? We did that for test 1. Okay, and now we'll label in black. Okay, so these, and I made the labels a different color so you can see the difference between my scratchy picture and my scratchy label lines. So these are the dendrites. And the dendrites receive information. This is the soma slash cell body. And here we have the nucleus, of course. Excuse me. And the neurons require lots of energy. So this is a mitochondrion that we have drawn in. Dendrite, cell body, nucleus. Oh, nucleolus. Wrong color. The nucleolus is inside the nucleus, as you know. And then the long skinny bit is, that's entirely the wrong letter. Okay, that was terrible. Let's do it down here. The axon, also called the nerve fiber. And then it ends at, oh, that's not on the list, so we're good for now. We will, oh, time. We will come back and learn all about these and what these membranes are called, and this for test 5. We will come back and learn the rest of these structures is the basic concepts that you need to get you started. So what do dendrites do? Receive information. What does the axon do? Sends information. What does the cell body do? Amongst other things, information processing. All right, so we will cover page 13 in the next video. This has been A&P 1 lecture test 2 video 7, and we covered 11 and 12. 11 and 12, and that was muscles and neuro. Boom, I've got it down. Now I can put it in the description in YouTube. So thank you as always for tuning in. It's good to virtually see you here. The education must go on. Dr. J out.